Hi. I watched the Conservative Party leadership contest unfold yesterday. We were introduced to Penny Mordaunt. No, I didn't really know anything about Penny Mordaunt at all. But apparently she's from Portsmouth. She, when she was a little girl, she watched the Royal Navy leave Portsmouth Harbour on its way to the Falkland Islands. And she learned that Britain stands up to bullies. She joined the Royal Navy. And she learned how to compete against men. Now, I'm not really sure what that means, but maybe she's talking about wrestling or doing. They have this competition, don't they, when they run up and down the mast? Maybe she was talking about that. So she knows how to compete against men. That's the main thing. And Margaret Thatcher, sent the Navy to the Falklands, and I presume because she admires Margaret Thatcher, she decided to join the Conservative Party, I suppose, and become an MP. And she's been Defence Minister. So we learned a few things about her. Now, she said, one of the things she said, she was talking about the definition of a woman. You see, she's got a bit of advantage there because she's actually a woman, But she said, Margaret Thatcher said, you can't be the Prime Minister unless you have a willy. And then she said, I don't have a willy. Now, I'm not sure what she meant by that. Maybe she's trying to say that she can't be Prime Minister. But I think what she meant was that the definition of a woman is somebody who doesn't have a willy. I don't really know what she was banging on about, really. But the willy that Margaret Thatcher alluded to was Willie Whitelaw. For those of you who didn't know that. So anyway, but one thing I did notice about Penny Mordaunt is unlike me, she's a very good communicator. She really gets down to the point of the issue, and I actually watched 3 videos on YouTube. One of the videos she's giving Ian Blackford of the SNP a lot of stick. In another video, she's laying into Angela Rayner, and another video is quite impressive. Penny Mordaunt's making this speech, and this protester sort of comes on stage. She just walks onto stage and stands by the side of Penny Mordaunt. So Penny Mordaunt sort of turns and looks at her, and this protester then starts to tell Penny Mordaunt about her grievances. And now this meeting that Penny Mordaunt is making this speech to, the person who's protesting said we weren't allowed to address this this gathering, but we are victims or something. So we were blocked from speaking. So I think the protester was speaking for about a minute or so, maybe 2 minutes, and then Penny Mordaunt says, well, I wasn't aware of this, and I have a summary to give later on, a speech, and I will give my time up to you to speak, or if you don't want to speak, I'll give that time up to your colleagues. At which the protester is very taken aback, because she didn't expect that response. She maybe expected to be dragged off stage or something. So she leaves the stage, and if that is how Penny Mordaunt deals with sticky situations, then I think she's going to be great as Prime Minister. Now, the reason I did like Penny Mordaunt was that her first priority is to cut VAT on fuel by 50%. And I think that's exactly what we need, because they're saying, like, to fill a car up, an average car is about £100 or something now, because the fuel prices have gone up. So if you were to cut VAT by 50%, that would mean that you're going to save £10 on a full tank of fuel. And £10, it's reasonable amount. It means you don't feel as badly off. But there is another thing she made reference to, and that was the VAT on fuel, and also on electricity. There is a thing called the green levy. Now, the green levy on electricity adds about 25% to an electricity bill. So, for example, if you were paying, say, £100 a month for your electricity, if you took the green levy off, and if you took the 5% VAT off, then you would save £30 a month. So if you fill your car up every month and you pay your electricity bill every month, then in these times, I think it'd be a very good idea if you could save, say, £40 a month. I think that would make a little bit of difference to people. Now, some people say, well, yeah, but you can't just give money away. It's we're going to go bankrupt. But the reality is that the Treasury is making fortunes of money. Like they do like a forecast in October. So they say we are going to get X amount of VAT from fuel, and they're actually getting a lot more VAT than they had budgeted for. So there's nothing wrong with basically hitting your targets. And then if there's any left over, then you just give it back to the consumer, because then the consumer can get out into the marketplace. They don't feel as badly off. They've got a little bit of money to spend, and maybe that might, they might say, oh, we've had a 3% pay offer. I'm not that badly off. I'll take that. But the problem is, if you keep squeezing people, then they're going to say, well, 3% is no good. I want 15% pay rise. And that's what we're heading to over the winter. So Penny Mordaunt has, she's the only one for me who's actually addressed that problem, head on. So yesterday the ballot was, Penny Mordaunt got 67 votes. And Rishi Sunak got 80 odd votes. I don't know what he got, 80 odd, something like that. So it's looking quite like Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt will go to the Conservative Party membership to be. The Conservative Party membership will vote for the next leader, and looking at the polls, it looks like Penny Mordaunt is going to win that hands down, really. But anyway, Rishi Sunak, I'm not really too keen on Rishi Sunak, to tell the truth, because, well, for example, he cracks on like he's some genius or something, like the Treasury Minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer. But in reality, let me just give you some examples. Now, during the time of COVID, when it was locked down, there was a need to help people. There's no question about that. And Rishi Sunak personally came up with the solution to that problem. So he came up with various schemes. He came up with the furlough scheme, self-employed income scheme, eat out to help out, bounce back loans, but the problem is that they were structured in such a way that £6 billion of fraud has occurred with regard to furlough scheme, self-employed income scheme, and eat out to help out. There's £6 billion that's been scammed out of the Treasury. Now, when it comes to bounce back loans, that's about £5 billion of, direct fraud. That's and some people are saying it's could be as much as £25 billion of fraud. Now, one of the junior ministers, he's an old guy actually, called Lord Agnew. He resigned this year because he stated in his resignation speech that there were schoolboy errors made at the Treasury. Now, don't forget that these schemes were the brainchild of Rishi Sunak. So effectively, Rishi Sunak is being accused of making schoolboy errors. Now, one of these schoolboy errors was that they would lend between £2,000 to £30,000 to companies. So you had to have a company, you have to have a registered company. So what people were doing was they were going to companies who sold companies. It's a bit like registration plates. So these companies have on the shelf, or off the shelf, limited companies that you can buy. But the thing was that it appeared that Treasury didn't understand that you could buy a company which had been set up, say, 2 or 3 years ago, off the shelf. And it probably costs about 100 quid. It's not a lot of money. So you could buy a company for, say, 100 quid, and which is set up 2 or 3 years ago. And then what you'd do is you would go to the bank, right? You'd make an application. There's an application form. You'd fill it in, and it's called what we call self-certification. So you would say, yes, I have a £300,000 turnover and I make 100 grand profit. And we're struggling a bit and I need 30 grand. And the bank would then pay you that money. Now, every penny that the bank paid out was 100% backed by the government. So all this fraud took place. People were just buying companies off the shelf, saying, I need 30 grand. And there you go. And some people were buying lots of companies, I don't really know the details of it, but suppose you bought, say, 10 companies. You could basically borrow £300,000, which some people did, and some people borrowed more, and all this was, what they did then was they just basically, I don't know, got a cash point card and took the money out, and border agents, UK border agents were stopping people, looking at the suitcases, and they found, in a couple of instances, they found suitcases just full of cash that these people had just basically defrauded the the Treasury, and were taking the money out of the country to wherever they were going. I don't know where they were going. Might have been going to Latvia or something. I don't know. But in total, the Treasury is admitting to £11.7 billion of fraudulent activity. But the loans were structured in such a way that they expected 17 billion not to be repaid. Now, the Treasury guaranteed 47 billion pounds worth of loans. 17 billion they estimated would not be paid back, and there's now another sort of 12 billion of fraudulent activity. So you're looking at something like 29 billion, something like that. Now, having explained all that, that doesn't seem to me to be an example of economic, credibility. Do you know what I mean? And as the Treasury Minister said, the junior minister said, Lord Agnew, these were schoolboy errors. It was. So we have to think about that. And then with the help that Rishi Sunak is giving to people during the cost of living crisis. So what is he actually doing? So he's saying, well, I'm giving, like today is the 14th of July. Excuse me. So he's giving the poorest folk in the country, people on universal credit and such like. He's giving them today 325 quid, and there'll be another 325 quid in August. But you have to understand that during the lockdown, people on universal credit were given an extra £20 a week. Now, £20 a week is £1,000 a year. So he's giving these people £650 a year. They've taken the £20 off. And now he's giving them £650. But the reality is that we're probably in a worse position now than we were during the lockdowns, so there is a definite need for this money to be paid out, and probably £650 isn't enough. In fact, what he should have done really was just to reinstate the £20 a week back to universal credit. That would have been fine. Everybody would have been happy with that. But he's got this scheme, a new scheme. I'm going to give you £650. And he's got another scheme as well, which is going to help with people's energy bills. So he reckons it's a universal scheme, and everybody gets £400. So basically, anybody with an energy meter, if you've got an electricity meter or something, you're going to get £400. But the fact is, nobody's going to get £400. There isn't a single person in this country who's going to get £400. Excuse me. What's going to happen is the energy companies are going to get £400 on behalf of every household. So essentially, what we're looking at is a bailout of the energy companies. And that's what's going on. So Rishi Sunak has done this windfall tax. Now, the windfall tax is on oil companies and gas companies. And it's worth, he says, £5 billion. Now, this 400 quid and this 650, all these cost of living, the cost of living assistance, all this is going to cost about £15 billion. So essentially what he's actually doing, he's going to borrow £10 billion and he's going to give that to the energy companies. It's a bailout. And then what he says, well, I may levy a windfall tax on the, electricity companies, gas companies, the utilities later. But we need to find out if they're making profits. So if we have a little think about that, so it appears that the Treasury doesn't know if the energy companies, that is the people who provide you gas and people who provide your electricity, he doesn't know if they are making profits. But he's committed to a bailout. He's going to borrow £10 billion and bail out these companies. But they might have made £10 billion profit. So they've made £10 billion profit, or made £10 billion profit. And then he's going to give them 10 billion. And then later on, when they've caught up, when they've done all the sums, they go, we want 5 billion back off you, or 10 billion, or what another windfall tax. So it seems a very strange way of going about things, but I saw him on a breakfast program. And it was Susanna Reid. She asks him a question. She says, she said, I don't need this £400 because, I've got loads of money. I'm a TV presenter, so I don't need this money. And she said to him, you don't really need the money. So he said, yeah. He said, so why don't you do what I'm doing and give it to charity? Well, how do you give something to charity that you've not got? Nobody's giving you £400. So, but he's sort of implying that this £400 is going to every household. Like, Prince Charles is going to get a few, Prince Charles owns Cornwall, doesn't he? So he's going to get quite a few 400 quids. But, multiple homeowners are going to get multiple £400 paid off their energy bills. But nobody's actually going to receive the 400 quid. It's going to be a bailout to the energy companies. So it's the way he presents things. He like twists the truth or hides the truth from people. And, it's a strange way of going about things. And considering, he's going to replace Boris Johnson, or he's going to try and replace Boris Johnson, it seems very strange that, it's quite easy to see through that he's not actually portraying the situation as it is. For example, with national insurance, that was a classic. So he says we're going to raise national insurance. Okay. And then everybody's going, you don't really want to be doing that. Well, you don't want to be doing that because you're going into a recession. So you really don't want to be doing that. You want to be trying to cut taxes down if you can, because then that puts money into people's pockets. They then spend that money and you don't get into a recession. Let me just have a drink. So basically he says we're raising national insurance, and then he says we're going to raise the level at which you start paying national insurance. This is like after a few weeks when all this outcry is going up. So we're going to raise the level at which you start paying national insurance. And then what he's saying now is, we've cut tax, the biggest tax cut in 10 years or 20 years or whatever it is. And we've cut tax on the average, worker by £330 a year. And say, yeah, but you raise national insurance. So by raising national insurance, you're making X amount of £1 billion, and by raising the threshold at which you start paying it, you're losing X billions of pounds, but you're still gaining. In other words, it's still a tax rise. But you could see that Boris Johnson is quite happy to say, we are cutting taxes. Rishi Sunak, we are cutting taxes. So for me, they cut from the same block, if you like. I don't see how replacing Boris Johnson with Rishi Sunak is going to help at all. I mean, the other day I was watching when Rishi Sunak was launching his leadership campaign, and Beth Rigby turns around and says, you're talking about Boris Johnson, but in reality, you have problems because your wife was non-dom status, so she's not paying tax in the UK. This is the Chancellor of the Exchequer's wife is non-dom, not paying tax in the UK, which she said is rectified now. That's all been sorted. She's now paying tax in the UK. But also, what else did she say? She said, she said also, you, Rishi Sunak, are toxic to the Conservative Party members. They just don't want you as Prime Minister. At which point he started laughing, ha ha ha, as if. But it's true. I mean, there's a lot of people have said that Rishi Sunak is not popular with the Conservative Party membership, and Penny Mordaunt is. So Rishi Sunak's best chance really would be if Penny Mordaunt quits the race before it gets to the Conservative Party members, and that's what Andrea Leadsom did, innit? She pulled out, and Theresa May was what they call anointed, or whatever they call it. But yeah, so I don't particularly like Rishi Sunak because of the way he presents things. I think he should have just to help poor folk. He should just increase benefits. I mean, he was the one as well who cut the triple lock to pensioners. And then he's like, again, he's going, we have implemented a triple lock for pensioners. So, yeah, but you were the one who took it off, so no. So, yeah, Penny Mordaunt for me, I think she's going to win the race. We've got another ballot today. It's the 14th of July today. Another ballot today, and we'll see what happens. But even if Rishi Sunak won and became Prime Minister, I think he's going to make a right mess of it. And I don't think he's capable of winning a general election. I mean, those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know what you think. I'll try and, if you make a comment, I'll try and answer as many comments as I can. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll make another one and make another video soon. Thanks.